Solving equations by clearing fractions. So if we want to clear the fractions from an equation, the first thing we have to do is find the lowest common denominator. So if I look at problem 1, I have denominators of 4, 2, and 8. So my lowest common denominator is 8. Once I have the lowest common denominator, then I'm going to multiply each of my terms, and in this case I have 1, 2, 3 terms. I'm going to multiply each of those terms by 8, and if it's a fractional term, I'll use 8 over 1. So now I do 8 over 1 times p over 4 plus 8 over 1 times 1/2 equals 8 over 1 times 5 over 8. So I've multiplied each of my terms by 8, or 8 over 1. The second step is that I want to reduce. So I say 4 goes into 8 2 times. And 2 times p is 2p. Plus 2 goes into 8 4 times. And 4 times 1 is 4. Equals 8 goes into 8 1 time. And 1 times 5 is 5. Now what I have is an equation that has no fractions in it. 2p plus 4 equals 5. So I want to get p equals some number. So I want to get rid of this 4. So I add -4 to both sides. Four plus -4 cancels, and I have 2p equals 1. Now I have 2 times p equals 1. So I divide by 2 on both sides, and that gives me p equals 1/2. And that's my final answer. Alright, so on to example 2. We've only got 2 fractions. We've got fractions of 3 and 2. So our lowest common denominator, the denominators of 3 and 2, is 6. So I'm going to multiply each of these terms by 6. If it's a fraction, I'll use 6 over 1. So the first one I write 6 over 1 times -2 over 3w minus, since the 3 is a whole number, I just use 6 times 3 equals, and then I've got another fraction term, so 6 over 1 times -1/2. Next step is to reduce. So 3 goes into 6 2 times, and 2 times -2 is -4. So I get -4w minus 6 times 3 is 18 equals, and then 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 3 times -1 is -3. Alright, so now what I would do, since I have my fractions all cleared, is I would change my subtraction to addition of the opposite. So I write -4w plus -18 equals -3. And the next step I want to do is actually add 18 to both sides. So I add 18, and I add 18, and -18 plus 18 is 0, so that cancels, and I have -4w equals. Now, -3 plus 18 gives me 15. The next step is to divide both sides by -4. And -4 divided by -4 is 1, and 1w is just w. So I'm going to go over here, and I have w equals. Now, this negative sign really belongs to the numerator. So I get negative 15 over 4. Alright, last one. So we've got denominators of 4 and 2. So my lowest common denominator is 4. Now I want to multiply each of these 4 terms by 4. And if it's a fraction, I use 4 over 1. So I've got 4 over 1 times 1/4 x minus 4 times 1 equals 4 times 2 minus 4 over 1 times 1 over 2x. So each of my terms I've multiplied by 4. Next I reduce. So 4 goes into 4 once, and 1 times 1 is 1. So I've got 1x minus 4 times 1 is 4 equals 4 times 2 is 8 minus 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 times 1 is 2. So I've got 2x. Now remember to keep in mind that your goal is to get the x on the left equals the number on the right. So if there's a x on the right hand side, I want to get rid of it. So I'm going to change my subtraction to addition of the opposite. That gives me 1x plus negative 4 equals 8 plus negative 2x. So I want to get rid of the negative 2x, so I add 2x to both sides. Negative 2x plus 2x is 0, so that cancels. And I've got an 8 there. 1x plus 2x gives me 3x plus negative 4. Now I want to get rid of that negative 4, so I add 4 to both sides. Negative 4 plus 4 cancels, and I get 3x equals 12. In my last step, I need to divide by 3 on both sides, and that'll give me a final answer of x equals 4.